another point of view. We are going to start our new topic under the same aspect of globalism, but this time we're coming a little bit out of education. We're going to talk about economics, more of a government. We're leaving some of the topics under school and education and brainwashing and indoctrinating our children, and moving into talking about the World Economic Forum, which of course is going to have something to do with education. We're going to talk about economy and how that's going to affect all of us. So this episode is called The Great Lie, Reset the Truth. Isn't that the truth? You need to figure out what is true and what is the lie. So do you believe that the World Economic Forum can start a new reset, a great reset, because that they have everybody scared at this point? They can have everybody listening to them because people are like, okay, so what do we do? How do we move on? How do we get open? How do we get these masks off? How do we get everybody to be safe? How are the elderly can be safe? How can we go to doctors? How can the families get back together? How can we get back to normal? Well, there's not going to be a normal getting back to the old ways. There's going to be a great global reset, right? That's according to the World Economic Forum. So what is the World Economic Forum? I have somebody that's going to be actually telling you a little bit about that. He's going to be behind the video camera, right? So we're going to listen to what is the World Economic Forum. So take it away.
What is the World Economic Forum? The World Economic Forum, also known as WEF, based in colonial Geneva Canton, Switzerland, is an international NGO or non-governmental organization founded on January 24th, 1971. The World Economic Forum's mission is stated as, quote, committed to improving the state of the world by engaging business, political, academic, and other leaders of society to shape global, regional, and industrial agendas, end quote. The WEF hosts an annual meeting at the end of January in Davos, a mountain resort in Graubünden in the Eastern Alps region of Switzerland. The meeting brings together some 3,000 business leaders, international political leaders, economists, celebrities, and journalists for up to 5 days to discuss global issues across 500 sessions. The organization also convenes some 6 to 8 regional meetings each year in locations across Africa, East Asia, Latin America, and India, and holds 2 further annual meetings in China and the United Arab Emirates. Besides meetings, the organization provides a platform for leaders from all stakeholder groups from around the world, business, government, and civil society, to collaborate on multiple projects and initiatives. It also produces a series of reports and engages its members in sector-specific initiatives. The World Economic Forum and its annual meeting in Davos are criticized regarding the public cost of security, the formation of a wealthy global elite without attachment to the broader societies, undemocratic decision process, gender issues, and the lack of financial transparency.
Okay, so that's a synopsis. It's kind of just giving you a little bit of a brief history of what it is, what they've been up to, and moving forward. You can get into more in depth if you wanted to. You can read about the background history leading up to it, but at least we have a snapshot. For those who do not know what the World Economic Forum is, right, and they do not know that the attachment to it is the Great Reset. So this right now, again, is going to be from the guy behind the camera. He's going to be telling you about a snapshot, a picture of what is the Great Reset. So take it away.
What is the Great Reset? The Great Reset is the name of the 50th annual meeting of the World Economic Forum held in June 2020. It brought together high-profile businesses and political leaders convened by Prince Charles of Wales and the World Economic Forum with the theme of rebuilding society and the economy in a sustainable way following the COVID-19 pandemic. The World Economic Forum Chief Executive Officer Klaus Schwab described 3 core components of the Great Reset. The first involves creating conditions for a stakeholder economy, quote unquote. The second component includes building in a more, quote, resilient, equitable, and sustainable, unquote, way based on environmental, social, and governance metrics which would incorporate more green public infrastructure projects. The third component is to, quote, harness the innovations of the fourth industrial revolution, unquote, for public good. In her keynote speech opening, International Monetary Fund Director Kristalina Georgieva listed 3 aspects of the sustainable response: green growth, smarter growth, and fairer growth. At the launch event for the Great Reset, Prince Charles listed key areas for action similar to those listed in his Sustainable Markets Initiative, introduced in January of 2020. These included the reinvigoration of science, technology, and innovation, a move towards net zero transitions globally, and the introduction of carbon pricing, reinventing long-standing initiative structures, rebalancing investments to include more green investments, and encouraging green public infrastructure. In June 2020, the theme of the January 21st 51st Economic Forum annual meeting was announced as the Great Reset, connecting both in-person and online global leaders in Davos, Switzerland, with a stakeholder network in 400 cities around the world. The Great Reset will also be the main theme of the World Economic Forum's summit in Lucerne in May 2021. According to New York Times, the BBC, The Guardian, Le Devoir, and Radio Canada, baseless, quote-unquote, conspiracy theories spread by American far-right groups like QAnon surged at the onset of the Great Reset Forum and increased in fervor as leaders such as U.S. President Joe Biden and Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau incorporated ideas based on the reset in their speeches.
Okay, so there you go. That's kind of the ins and outs. We're taking a little pieces and snapshots. We're using, a lot of people would say, using some of the definitions from, we're not going to be in agreement with all these people that are doing the definitions, but we're taking it from Wikipedia. Obviously, there's some controversy even in college to turn away from Wikipedia because people can add and take from that site, but this was put together rather well, talking about the ins and outs and the background of the World Economic Forum and the Great Reset. And also we're going to be talking a little bit about Klaus Schwab from the World Economic Forum. So let's see what he has to say about the Great Global Reset and how we can use what's going on in today's world with the pandemic, as they call it. Some people call it the plandemic, right?
What does Klaus Schwab say about the Great Reset? 1. We can emerge from this crisis a better world if we act quickly and jointly. 2. The changes we have already seen in response to COVID-19 prove that a reset of our economic and social foundations is possible. And number 3, this is our best chance to instigate stakeholder capitalism. And here's how it can be achieved. COVID-19 lockdowns may be gradually easing, but anxiety about the world's social and economic prospects is only intensifying. There's good reason to worry. A sharp economic downturn has already begun, and we could be facing the worst depression since the 1930s. But this outcome is likely, it is not unavoidable. To achieve a better outcome, the world must act jointly and swiftly to revamp all aspects of our society and economies, from education to social contracts and working conditions. Every country, from the United States to China, must participate, and every industry from oil and gas to tech must be transformed. In short, says Schwab, we need a great reset of capitalism.
What is really going on? What do they have to create for us to all to come on board with this great reset, global reset? Or is this really the new world order? You know, people call that a conspiracy theory. But did you change the wording and shift it into where people are fearful so they accept it more? One world government, one world economics, one world system, one world church, one world education system, one world global utopia. What will this utopia look like? Will this be good for mankind? Well, we're going to look at this video next. It's going to be talking in 5 minutes, talking about the Great Reset. So here is that video.
It's not only a great reset, it's a great deception. Replacing mum and dad, small businesses and private enterprises with big tech and big business. Democracy and free enterprise go out the window, totalitarian government control slides in through the back door. Those behind this scheme are adamant that there can be and never will be a return to normal, that life will never again be what it was prior to COVID. That is why they constantly talk about the new normal. The World Economic Forum meets every January in Davos. You will have heard of the expression Davos man. It refers to all the zillionaires and pop stars and popes and princes and politicians who meet every year to map out our futures. This year's Davos is very, very different to all the previous ones. The World Economic Forum, along with the United Nations, along with the International Monetary Fund, and along with any number of prominent globalist organizations and powerful individuals, including Prince Charles, together have jointly promised that the 2021 World Economic Forum will be used to introduce, via a vast network of connected big tech corporations, online activist movements, and compliant local and national governments, something they call the Great Reset. This isn't some Sky After Dark fantasy conspiracy theory. It is a global commitment they have made to use the panic and fear generated by the coronavirus as a means to reshape all our economies and laws and move to a new form of capitalism that focuses on net zero emissions. You might think this is a great thing. You might think this is a terrible thing. If implemented successfully, the Great Reset will undeniably and deliberately have extreme and possibly dire repercussions for every single one of your constituents. Already, the Great Reset is being widely advertised on posters and in ads across the UK and Europe, and no doubt will be here before too long. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy is just one of their marketing slogans. The plan involves replacing shareholders of big companies with stakeholders who happen to be left-wing bureaucrats and climate change zealots. Replacing mum and dad small businesses and private enterprises with big tech and big business. Mrs. Kafup's share portfolio is out, Greta Thunberg's zero emissions are in. Democracy and free enterprise go out the window, totalitarian government control slides in through the back door. But remember, it's not only a great reset, it's a great deception. Because in order to get everyday people to surrender many of the rights and freedoms we currently take for granted, the repeatedly stated aim of these organizations is to deliberately use COVID as an excuse, to use all the political and authoritarian tools, as Prince Charles puts it, that are currently being used around the world to eradicate the virus, such as lockdowns, exclusion zones, forced closure of businesses, heavy fines, making protesting illegal, and so on, but now to eradicate carbon emissions. Those behind this scheme are adamant that there can be and never will be a return to normal, that life will never again be what it was prior to COVID. That is why they constantly talk about the new normal. This is not me saying this. This is them saying it. The people with the power and the means and the obsessional desire to do it. And they keep telling us again and again precisely what they have in store.
Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system.
We have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path. It is an opportunity we have never had before and may never have again. So we must use all the levers we have at our disposal, knowing that each and every one of us has a vital role to play.
The Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call. It is imperative that we reimagine, rebuild, redesign, reinvigorate and rebalance our world. Rebalancing investment, harnessing science and technology, and advancing the transition to net zero emissions, all elements of the Great Reset, are fundamental to building the future we need.
And if it's still not clear, the book written by World Economic Forum boss Klaus Schwab himself, setting out precisely how the most powerful forces in the world are lining up to use the COVID-19 crisis as a pretext for introducing a new climate change-focused one world economy that will strip away property rights and basic democratic rights. They are not hiding this stuff, they are shouting it from the rooftops. The World Economic Forum boasts on its website that the only acceptable response to the COVID crisis is to pursue a great reset of our economies, our politics, and our societies.
Okay, I hope that was really good for you guys. I'm really just kind of looking at what it could look like, what is really going on, what is the language that sounds good. The question is it good? That's what the ultimate question will always be. If it sounds good, is it really good? And is man capable of ushering in a new, healthier world? A new global connection with nature. The world is responsible to change the climate and the weather, and there's things that we need to do to move in that direction to save our world. We are to be good stewards of what God has given us, but we're not in control of the weather. We're not in control of the climate. The creator of the universe is in control of that. Yeah, we can do things to help out, to be good stewards of what we have down here. That's what we've been called to do. Now in Acts 17:26, it says here that, and he has made from one blood every nation of man to dwell on all the face of the earth, and has determined their pre-appointed times and their boundaries for their dwellings. So now I think the Bible has that correct, right? One blood, and to dwell. And there is boundaries. There has to be boundaries. Set forth boundaries, just like you set forth boundaries for your children, for your own life, for the law. There has to be a law, because people will go absolutely crazy in the streets if there's no boundaries and no consequences for behavior. So you can't cancel culture. You can't cancel the police department, the fire department, the military. Whatever you want to cancel. And have a sustainable world. And this is all under this guise of sustainable development. Really? You're going to have people come against each other, right? So a nation divided against itself can't stand, and they would know that. A world divided against itself can't stand, so you have to make things conflict. So in that conflict, that you can get set forth some of the goals that you want to set forth and say, hey, look at us, we have the answers. You see the world falling apart, but we can bring it back together if you would only listen to us. If you want to stand in line to get on that boat, look at the world and what has happened in history to mankind that had the government take over the people, and it was sad, and there was so much death in Nazi Germany, right? And you think about Russia and China, North Korea, Cambodia, anybody that's under a dictatorship, under communism. So sad. It's so sad. So what they're promising, it's almost like walking off a cliff. Follow me off this cliff, Follow me into the flames. Follow me into your own destruction. It's truly, truly sad. Here is, I'm going to play a part of this video too. I think they do a good job with this. It says the truth about the World Economic Forum and the Global Reset. I'll do the tail end of this. I'll be putting all of the links below, so if you would like to watch the whole video, you can.
So, back at the World Economic Forum, when they talk about so-called equity, and when they talk about a green recovery, keep in mind, this is being said by a small group of elite billionaires who are flying to their meeting in Davos on thousands of private jets. When they talk about a great reset, do you think they really want equality for everyone? Seriously, who on earth would put their hopes for a greener and more equitable world in the hands of governments and the wealthy elite? Do you think that will benefit everyone? Or do you think it'll benefit the governments and the wealthy elite? Sure, they still haven't given us any details on what the Great Reset actually is. But I know one thing. If it happens, the rest of us are not going to like it.
Remember when I set forth these videos, definitions, I'm using these resources for research purposes only. If I do agree with a website, I'll let you know about that, but no website is perfect. So there's going to be, mankind tends to fall into error from time to time, or they say something that they should have said differently. So we're going to be also putting out one more thing here, and I do agree with a lot of what this one says as well. It's from America Uncovered. And it says, what is the Great Reset? The World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland, has been talking about something called the Great Reset. What actually these globalist elite mean by the Great Reset is pretty unclear, other than a vague talk about the government playing a bigger role in the economy. But with the coronavirus pandemic and worldwide quarantine, the lockdowns, wrecking financial crisis, could this be the start of a broad push towards socialism and communism? And that is the question.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset, to reimagine our economic systems that actually address global challenges like extreme poverty, inequality, and climate change. I mean, it all sounds innocuous, doesn't it? But it brings us back to this Professor Schwab. I mean, he has said, post-coronavirus, the world must, quote, act jointly and swiftly to revamp all aspects of our societies and economies. Surely, James, we're mad if we don't take heed.
We are mad if we don't take heed, and we have to resist. It's unfortunate. I think we've all enjoyed decades of peace, but this is our World War III. It's just not the World War we expected. It's not a fighting war. It doesn't involve guns and rockets and things. It does involve taking control of our freedoms and grabbing them back from the people who are stealing them from us.
That is the question. Is it? What is it? Truly is it? Look at the core, look at the roots, look at who it is that is setting forth these directions for everybody. Do you trust them? I want you to really think about these things, because it's better to know, have wisdom, and really, if you're thinking about it in current events, you're looking at the left, you're looking at the right, you're looking at this view, you're looking at that view. Always come back to the Word of God, where all truth is found. What does the Word of God say about the seasons and the times that we're living in? What does the Word of God say about eschatology? What is it going to be teaching us about? What's going to be moving forward? It's already painted a big picture for you out there. We already know globalism is coming. The Bible talks clearly about that, a one world government and the one world church system. So is that what we're heading into? And if that's what we're heading into, remember, your redemption draws near. So make your plumb line the Word of God, and be vigilant to be discerning these days. If something sounds good, look at the history behind it. Make sure it is good, and if it is not good, we'll go back to this title. It is the great lie. Reset the truth. Get back to the Word of God, where all truth is found. I hope this was helpful. Also, if you're really learning a lot in these programs, please select like below, subscribe to our channel, ring that bell, and you'll be able to get updates as new videos are coming out, and help us reach more people with the truth and getting everybody back to the Word of God, where all truth is found. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.